Okay, Joe in there. Over and over. Deputy Judge, everybody. Nice to meet you. I am.
They need to turn off their microphones.
Well, meeting hadn't started. Let's see, how do I turn this?
Meeting to order.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where the volume is.
You do the roll call.
It's different on yours.
You ready to go, Paul? Miss Diana Arnold. Mr. Kevin Beatty. See you on there, Kevin. Honorable Scott Bates.
Here.
Honorable John Black.
Here.
Honorable Bernard Bowling.
Here.
Honorable Byron Chapman. Honorable Jack Kaufman. Mr. Brian Dixon. Honorable Troy Ethington.
Here.
Right in time, Mayor. Mr. Christian Streets for the Honorable Jeff Gahan.
Here.
Honorable Nicole George for the Honorable Craig Greenberg.
Present.
Mr. Keith Griffey.
Here.
Mr. Albert Tubby Purcell for the Honorable Treva Hodges. Honorable Maria Johnson. Honorable John Park for the Honorable Dan Eisen.
Here.
Mr. Andy Crouch. Honorable John Ogburn.
Here.
Honorable Carol Pike. Honorable John Schellenberger.
Here.
Honorable Jerry Summers. Here. Honorable Rick Tanini.
Here.
Honorable Jim Travis.
Oh.
Honorable Scott Travis.
Here.
And the Honorable Joe Ender for the Honorable David Vogel.
Here.
And I would like to welcome Joe. This is his first KIPDA meeting. He is the new deputy judge out in Oldham County. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having me. We do have a quorum. We're ready to get this.
All right, thank you, Jared. I'd like to welcome everybody to the May KIPDA Board of Directors meeting. And we'll get right into it. It's a long list today. The first item is the April board minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at them? I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion, second, a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is the April financial statements. Frida.
Thank you. So, on page 32, we have a summary of element. And our CED spend was 745,222 with a 81.44%. And then our transportation was 2,287,847. And then we have our social services, 4,479,008. Our agency operating expenses totaled 7,904,901. And then our aging program related was 16,262,883. For a total of 24,167,784. Do you have any questions on the first one? And we have our agency-wide line item revenue and expenditures report. And on that one, our current revenue is on page 36. And that total current revenue is $2,509,636. And then our year-to-date is the $24,115,141. On page 38. We have our current year-to-date, our current expenditure, sorry, of $2,506,710. And then our year-to-date is the $24,167,784. And then as page 39, we're going to our balance sheet. And we have our cash, which includes our CDL payroll. And those together are $2,702,673. And then our total receivables are $2,346,079. On page 40, our liabilities are $19,650,678. And then our total liabilities and projects were $9,378,514. Do we have any questions on any of that?
Anyone have any questions about the financials? Entertain a motion to approve the report. Have a motion, a second? Second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna jump in here. We're gonna move something up. Our elder abuse and CDS program. I'll let Jared introduce our Mr. Troy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Included in our contracts with the Department for Aging and Independent Living, these are the contracts that support our activities serving older adults through our Division of Social Services and our regional provider network. The contracts require a board training component. One of these training requirements is for fraud, neglect, and exploitation. And it is my honor and pleasure to welcome Paul Troy. Paul is the Senior Crime Victim Advocate with the Jewish and Family Community Career Services. He has more than 20 years of experience on the victim services field with an emphasis on domestic violence, sexual assault, fraud, and elder abuse. During that time, he has served as the Director of the Elder Abuse Services Coordinating Committee. As a crime victim advocate, Paul helps seniors who have experienced crime, fraud, abuse, and more navigate the legal justice system. And again, it's my pleasure to welcome Paul.
Thank you. Like you said, my name is Paul Troy. I'm a senior crime victim advocate with JFCS. This is one of the programs that you all fund. And one of the programs that you all helped bridge a huge gap for between 2021 and 2023 when we lost funding for this in Jefferson County. This program is currently funded through mostly through Victims of Crime Act grant, which is a federal grant that takes money from asset forfeiture, from civil penalties, basically from criminals, and uses it to fund victim service programs. So taxpayer dollars are not involved in it, but it is federal money. But we also get money from you guys, and again, you guys really sustained us during the time when we didn't have that funding. So I want to talk a little bit about what it is we do, what elder abuse looks like here in the state of Kentucky specifically, and what kind of fraud issues seniors are facing every day. So JFCS provides a lot of other services besides our crime victim services program, but this is really part of our client older adult program, which has case management, counseling, family caregiver support, a number of different services for seniors. And one of the gaps that we saw was that a lot of seniors are coming in and they've been victims of fraud, abuse, or neglect, and they needed some assistance through the court system. So we assist anybody 60 and older who's experienced those items in Jefferson County. It doesn't matter about income. It doesn't matter about who the perpetrator is or their relationship to them. If they've been a victim of crime and they're over 60, we're going to try and help. So about half of our cases involve domestic violence. And when I talk a lot about that, because it's not the kind of domestic violence most people are thinking about in terms of spousal abuse, or intimate partner violence, okay? We're talking mostly about intrafamilial violence, parent-child, grandparent-grandchild, those relationships. The other giant chunk of folks we deal with are dealing with financial exploitation and fraud. There's so much internet and telephone fraud out there every day, and we have seniors getting taken advantage of every day. I was sitting in my office on Tuesday with a woman who had lost about $30,000 in a romance scam to somebody that she thought was an offshore petroleum engineer. And she's a retired school teacher, and he kept hitting her up for, small amounts of money, $1,000 here, $500 there. And finally I said to her, I was like, and no offense, but I feel like offshore petroleum engineers make more money than retired school teachers. And she was just like, yeah, you're probably right about that. And it kind of, for the first time, realized that this was not who this guy pretended to be. So we're talking about large amounts of money for some folks, and people who have fixed incomes who are going to have a really difficult time recovering from it. I've had to escort women to homeless shelters when they've lost their homes because of this, and it's not fun. So that's the other big chunk of folks that we deal with. We also help with other crimes like like robberies, burglaries, things that put people at risk in their homes, that they can't remain safe and independent. So when things like, their Christmas ornaments are stolen, we're not dealing with that. But if there kicks in their back door, we're going to assist with getting their lock repaired, their door fixed, making their home secure. So what do? We provide legal advocacy, safety planning, information referrals. And legal advocacy a lot of times means going to court. I take people to court, I provide them with transportation, I drive them myself. During COVID, one of the only good things about the pandemic is we saw this huge rise in virtual court hearings, which is a godsend to our seniors who have disability issues, okay? But lots of our seniors are also not very tech savvy. So I'm going in their house, and if they don't have Wi-Fi, I'm setting up a Wi-Fi hotspot with my phone, and I'm pulling out my laptop, and we're connecting them virtually to the courthouse. This is something that a lot of people in their 60s and 70s might have their trouble with, might not be able to navigate quite as easily. That's why we exist. And we also go directly into court with clients. The crime, because I think Crimes and Bill of Rights allows us to do that. We provide emergency housing for folks who aren't safe to continue living in their home. If they've got a caregiver who's in the home, who's not safe to be around, we can provide them with a place to stay temporarily. We help them with crime victims compensation claims, and I do community education for patients like this. I mean, I would rather prevent people from getting scammed than, have to go and try to pick up the pieces afterward. So where are the gaps in our system here in Kentucky? So Kentucky defines domestic violence, and I'm not gonna read all that little fine print to you. It's a whole bunch of stuff about physical injuries and threats of physical injuries and all that stuff. Those are the acts that are illegal. But the people who commit the crimes, you've got a family member, which is a spouse or former spouse, other intimate partners are included in that. And then you've got grandparent, grandchild, parent, child, and stepchild, right? That's how we define it in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky has a Kentucky Coalition Against Domestic Violence, which is a division of the cabinet, and they're the ones who set victim service standards for all of our domestic violence shelters across the state. The organization is called Zero B. It used to be the Kentucky Coalition Against Domestic Violence. They have great shelter programs all across the state within an hour of any place in the state, and they do fantastic work. I'm in no way putting this organization down. They're awesome. They provide a lot of the same services that we do. There's not fine print, you can't read there, but they have shelter, they have court advocacy, support groups, counseling, but they only serve intimate partner violence victims, which means parent or spouses and former spouses, people who have children in common, live together as a couple, dating partners. So there's that whole family piece out of it. Now, I've worked both sides of this issue, and when I worked with domestic violence victims in the police department, I got every reported domestic violence that came into that district. But I was working for a KCADB agency at the time, and so I didn't help the people who were victims of intrafamilial violence. At that time, that was about a quarter of my cases, and I would just have to set those aside and not do anything with them. Now that I'm working with seniors strictly, I can help those folks, and that quarter, 25% of people in Jefferson County are going to actually get some assistance. Last year, 16,000 people filed for or called for domestic violence assistance in Jefferson County. There's 16,000 calls for service. You think about a quarter of those being in intrafamilial violence cases, that's 4,000. Now they don't all result in an arrest or a protective order, or sometimes even anything happening. But that's a lot of people who aren't getting services, who aren't eligible for services. And so that's why we exist. We also exist because people target seniors specifically, okay? And so one of the reasons that they target seniors is that our population is aging, right? Baby boomers are aging, the Generation X is aging, getting close to being 60. And so in 2035, 65 plus, will surpass 18 and under for the first time ever. And that's gonna be a big deal. People ask why are seniors targeted for fraud and abuse, right? So it's the same question when they ask the bank robber, Bowman, I think, hey, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is, right? Seniors have money. I know I said they live on fixed incomes, it's hard for them to recover. But if you're gonna try and scam somebody, are you gonna call a college student who's living on ramen and mac and cheese every day? Or are you gonna call somebody who's worked their whole life, owns a home, has a pension, has access to resources, right? That's what makes seniors targets. They also, are more likely to answer the phone. I grew up in an age where you answered the phone because people didn't call your home unless they had a reason to call your home. Dinner time, we picked up the phone. My kids won't answer the phone for anything, right? I'll text them and say, I've got $100 for you. They still won't answer the phone. So, I mean, if you're just dealing with numbers and you've got an auto dialer out there dialing numbers randomly, the people who are gonna pick up the phone are more likely to be older, right? Seniors tend to live alone, and the CDC has identified I can't say this, social isolation as the number one risk factor for elder abuse. It's also one of the highest risk factors for perpetrating abuse. And many seniors have physical or cognitive impairments, which also leads to isolation, which also makes them more dependent upon remote conversation and communication, more likely to answer the phone. So all these things put our seniors more at risk. And then the technological sophistication required to figure these things out. I do this for a living. I look at these scams every day. I get alerts from AARP, from the Federal Trade Commission. I have been certified by FINRA, which is our financial regulatory agency, to work with people who've been victims of fraud and abuse and how they recover. And I've come across emails, more recently, text messages, and I have to get pause and go like, is this real or not? You know, I mean, it's really difficult to tell. And with AI coming and the like deep fake stuff that we're seeing, it's going to be way more difficult. So this is why seniors are so much more susceptible. It's a huge problem in the United States, about $1.7 billion in losses that we can document. But we also know this is one of the most underreported crimes there is. So we really don't know. But these are not people in your grandma's basement, like you think. They're out there trying to call people and get rid of them off. That's the sort of stereotype out there. These are major multinational crime syndicates. Interpol cracks them down. That's what their call centers look like. That's a call center in India. It looks like a call center at any kind of credit card or any place that you would call, get, assistance with your Microsoft or whatever. And in the front, they'll have legitimate offices, maybe that's the front office, and those people are doing calls for Citibank, or I'm not trying to pick on any company. They're doing legitimate calls, legitimate work. And then in the back, you've got room after room after room of people doing nothing but calling people and scamming them. Most of these centers are overseas in countries where English is either broadly spoken or is formally an official language. So countries in the former British Commonwealth, in particular, Jamaica, Nigeria, India. Those are some of the three big hotspots. But you got large numbers of English speakers who can call. And with the internet, all those calls from India to the United States don't cost them anything. So they can sit there and call all day long, all those people. It adds up. So you got the emails, people have heard of phishing, right? Where they send you an email, it's fake, they're trying to get information, the PH for phony, they're phishing for information. All right. So now we've got smishing. And we're gonna probably have a new one in about 6 months or whatever. Short messaging system is text messaging. This is phishing over text, right? So now this is how we're getting them. And you might get something that says, hey, there's credit card fraud. We need you to sign into your Amex account. Click this link. Have you guys got one of these? All right. Whenever I do these presentations, see that ask, have you all got one of these? Every hand goes up. So this is how difficult it is. And we're seeing scams on things like, these are the old favorites, IRS scam, you didn't pay your taxes, there was a mistake with your taxes, you owe some back taxes. The grandparent scam, they'll pretend to be a family member who's injured or stranded or in dire need of money somehow. And that one could be very effective. It seems like I can play you a video clip of that one. And then there's like jury duty and court summonses. Those are big ones because they can always use the threat of arrest to try and get people to pay money. They use the same kind of high pressure tactics that our salesmen, And other folks do, they try to put a sense of urgency and fear into somebody. I've heard these calls before, you can hear sometimes sirens in the background when they're threatening to come and arrest people. They'll tell them, if you hang up the phone, we'll consider that absconding and we'll send the police to your house right now. And so the senior stays on the phone as they drive to Kroger and buy some thousands and thousands of dollars of iTunes cards, right? To pay their back taxes or to pay, their jury duties fine or whatever. So go get some, go buy $500 worth of iTunes cards. I'll ask my seniors, like, what can you all buy with iTunes cards? And I get blank looks a lot of times. And I have to point out that it says on there, apps, games, music, movies, TV shows. Taxes is not on there, right? iTunes are for media, and seniors don't understand that. I think a lot of people in this room maybe do, but when you get to be 75 and 80 years old, it's just another card that you see hanging up. And I don't understand, like, there's green dot cards. I don't know what those things are. I think it's a prepaid Visa card of some sort, but I'm not sure. So this is how hard it is. And now we've got Bitcoin ATMs everywhere. Have you all seen these in your Walgreens and your liquor stores and things? They'll direct the person they're scamming to one of these machines. Tell them to put their ATM card in it and transfer money from their bank account directly onto that. And as soon as they hit that button that says send, that money is gone. So the cryptocurrency thing is another one. And again, I do this for a living. I cannot explain cryptocurrencies to y'all to save my life. I think it's a big scam. I think that it's a Ponzi scheme like a whole lot of other stuff we saw back in desperate times 100 years ago. But nevertheless, this is what they're using. And because people who work with this stuff in Canada don't fully understand it, it's so much harder on our seniors. Another place where seniors fall in the gaps, and I'm going to wrap up real quick because I'm going to be mindful of your time, is when it comes to seniors who've allowed a member of their family to move back in with them for some reason. And then that person won't leave their home. Okay, so elder trespassing is what we call it. We've tried a number of times. We tried a number of times with the state legislature to change the laws to allow for emergency trespassing bill, and it just hasn't been successful. But basically what happens is you have a parent or grandparent, they've got a child that needs to move in with them again for whatever reason. They're out of jail, they've lost their job, and they need a place to stay. And there's a understanding that, okay, you come stay here temporarily while you're getting your feet, and then you gotta go. And within a couple of months, they're back to their old habits, and they're stealing, and they're threatening, and they've taken over the home, like this gentleman here, what I call sleepy. You see the rolling papers on the table and the pills that are scattered around. He managed to hold his beer before he passed out, which is truly amazing. There's a couple of joints in the ashtray. It was an interesting scene to walk in on. Plenty of money for beer, but we have Sunny D that looks empty and some eggs and condiments in the fridge. We don't know why he was taping the doors and the windows shut. It did not smell good in there, but to me, you would want to have ventilation. And then that was his mom's or his grandmother's bed, exactly like that, and it smelled and it was stained. So this is the situation that we deal with a lot, where you've got somebody you can't get them out of the home. That one was pretty extreme, but it's very difficult for a senior to get somebody in this situation out. And if you look at the living arrangements of older adults, the folks that I'm working with, a lot of them are living with grandchildren. And they're living with other family members, right? Adult children. That's the big, and grandchildren are the two biggest components at 57%. And then you got other family members. So those are the people that they're living with. Here's some stats from the Census Bureau. In 2015, there were 34% of young adults living with their parents. 10 years before that was only 26%. So this is an ongoing problem as well. And I think as we've seen the economy sort of retract a little bit, we saw a lot more people moving in with your parents. We saw a lot more stress. We've got more drugs out there on the streets and more issues like this. What winds up happening when somebody needs to get somebody out of their home like this is they file for a protective order. And this protective order, I've redacted it. I don't think it's too hard to read anyway, but basically it's this person trying to get this kid out of their house where, if you read sort of down to the bottom, it says, I fear for my safety and I want to leave my home, but I want him to leave my home, but he refuses. He's been rehabbed 3 times. When he gets out, he goes back to his old habits and using drugs. And you can read about all the stuff that was going on prior to this. Stolen $10,000 of my jewelry. He was not welcome to come here, but I found needles in my home and have to dispose of them. I mean, it's just a nightmare. So let's say we want to get this guy removed. And you've probably heard of some of these higher profile ones. This guy was in New York. His parents had to file a restraining order, get him out of the house. Here's one that was in LA with a nanny, where they couldn't get the nanny out of the home forever. So these trespass cases are difficult, right? So what winds up happening, if there hasn't been any violence where we can get a protective order and get them out immediately, is we do the eviction process. It requires a 30-day written notice, and then on the 31st day, you swear out an affidavit, and you get a court date within 3 or 4 weeks. And then at court, there's a judgment, and you get 7 days to vacate. And then if he's not left, you go back to court, and the judge issues a set out warrant, and the sheriff will enforce the set out warrant in about 5 days, and the whole thing costs $150, right? And after the set out warrant, you have to have 3 able-bodied people to remove the property, only an hour for the eviction. It has to be on the curb for 2 days. So that guy keeps coming back and terrorizing the victim over and over again. This is what we're talking about. It takes up to 10 weeks to get somebody out of home. And that senior, if they don't have someplace else to go, has to remain living with that individual during the entire time. You can imagine how just horrifying and terrifying that would be to live with somebody who you're trying to put out and they're mad about it. And the reason you're putting them out is because they've been abusive. It costs $150, which is difficult for some of our seniors. 5 trips to the courthouse. How many of you have been to the courthouse 5 times? Once? Sucks, doesn't it? Pardon my language, but it's no fun. It smells bad. You gotta park far away. It's dark and noisy and crowded, and you don't know what you're doing, and people are rude. Nobody wants to go there 5 times in 10 weeks to get your grandson who's passed out on your couch with Budweiser everywhere and around. Nobody wants to do that. So that's one of the areas that we have to assist as well, and that's one of the big gaps in Kentucky that we're trying to help with. Our crime victim services program is the only one in the state, unfortunately. We are one of only a handful that are federally funded around the country. So it is fairly unique. There's other programs that advocate on behalf of seniors generally, but this is one of the few that is a standalone program just for seniors of abuse and neglect. So I wanted to wrap it up and with all that and say thanks a lot for your support over all these years. We really could not have done this job without you. Thank you so much for the, not only financial support, the expertise, the support in the community, all those things. We really, really appreciate. And I hope you all have the rest of your great days. Great.
Hey, Paul, I have to say something.
Yeah.
As a realtor and a mayor, but as a realtor, I tell you what I'm running into, and these mortgage companies need to have their hands slapped. They're giving these senior citizens reverse mortgages, and they're putting them out of their homes and they can't afford it. I've got one right now. It's a sad situation.
Yeah.
You got to move because they've taken all our equity.
Yeah. The reverse mortgage scam thing is a huge problem and a huge scam. The other thing that is, I have not heard of until fairly recently, is that delinquent tax debt is now investment vehicle, I guess you could call it. So you have out-of-state companies that will scour the tax rolls for people who are delinquent with their taxes. They'll pay it, and then they'll put a lien on them for the amount of that tax debt, and then they can attach fees back. And so you have a senior homeowner who's missed their $500 annual tax payment. And 60 days later, some company from Baltimore buys it, not big on Baltimore, some company from out of state buys it and says, you know, now if you want to get this lien removed from your home, you have to pay us $500 and now $1,200. Because we've attached fees and we're attaching interest and we're attaching so-and-so, and eventually they'll take the home. Right? And this was something that was allowed, I think inadvertently by the legislature about 4 or 5 years ago. It was not an issue in Kentucky until then, and now it's becoming an issue. So, yeah, reverse mortgages is a huge one. And every time I see that, I want to say Tom Selleck on TV, I can't remember who it is on TV hawking those things. I just want to yell at them.
Reverse mortgages where they give you your money up front, and then you take it and then they spend it all on their health care and trying to get to their doctor's appointment. And then when you take it off, they just keep adding up. And now this little house has now got $300,000 owed on it.
Yeah. They'll put you out.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, it's, so that's another area where we have a lot of issues. And that financial fraud, some of that stuff is, especially like with mortgage companies, I mean, that stuff that's baked into our system. These are companies that are operating legitimately, they're just taking advantage of folks. That's very hard to combat. I mean, when you've got like celebrities on TV telling you this is safe, this will help you through your senior years, you'll live in your home while you get all the money for it up front. Sounds too good to be true, and I always tell people it is. Anyway, thank you all. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next item is number 6, cyber intelligence presentation. Bill Frost.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Very good. My name's Phil Brown, I'm with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security. I do hail from Eastern Kentucky, so if we need to bring in a translator, just let me know. It can be difficult. So we'll talk about a few things today, not very cyber, mostly like funding opportunities and things like that, so hopefully it'll be that. First up is MSISAC, is the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center. Has anybody heard of that? Is anybody a member of MSISAC? Okay, so why should you care? It's an acronym, it's government stuff, right? Well, first of all, it's taxpayer funded, so you're already paying for it. It's out there, if you're not taking advantage of it, and I don't know. What do they do? They have a 24/7 emergency response capability. It's a remote capability, so if you get a cyber attack, they can help consult you on how to get through that stuff. So if you already have an IT team, but you've never been hit with a cyber attack, they're probably going to be overwhelmed. So just some guidance in the right direction probably be helpful, especially if it's going to cost. That's pretty cool. They also offer services like a malicious domain blocking and reporting service. They offer free email filtering services, so if you don't already have that in place, you can sign up for that through them. They also have tons of just classes and meetings, and they push out, I think it's weekly, basically a CSV sheet of known malicious websites and IP addresses that your IT team can block. And that's pretty easy to just bring that into their firewall and think right on. So, and there's tons of other stuff too. They do have paid services also, but we don't advertise their paid services. But there's tons of stuff they have that's really good about it. Secondly, when it comes to cybersecurity funding, is anybody a member of KIPDA or League of Cities in here? Do we have any KIPDA or League of Cities people in here? Well, they have cybersecurity grants. I know for sure KIPDA does this year because they've been talking about it. So that's one source of funding right there you have. I don't know how in-depth it is or how hard their applications are. I'm going to apply for it, but I assume it's not much different than anything else. So if you need some cybersecurity funding, that's one way in if you're a member of KIPDA. If you have KIPDA, you probably have cybersecurity insurance through them. So that's pretty cool. That right now, I think it's included with your insurance policy. But that doesn't mean you probably shouldn't be doing anything when everything's okay. Basically what that means is they're bringing an outside vendor if you get hit with an attack. And then that vendor will help work you through that attack. Now, if you have horrible backups, if you're not doing the things that you need to do maintenance wise, then your problem isn't really solved. You're just now beginning to figure out what your problem actually is, which could be the loss of 5 or 6 years of data. It could be replacing equipment, which could run into the thousands of dollars and stuff like that. Now, your insurance might cover some of that, but what it's not going to cover is the loss of work. If you work for the state like me, 5 years of work, you probably catch that up in 15 or 20 minutes. But if you're doing a real job like you guys, like you do at city and county level, 5 years of work, that's awful, right? So now you're having to do your job, plus you're trying to catch up on the 5 years of work that you lost. That's tragic. So just keep in mind that that's really what cybersecurity is about. It's protecting the things that take too long to rebuild. It takes more resources to rebuild than you think so. Let's see, League of Cities, I think the same thing. I don't talk to them as much. I think they have a program as well. Reach out to them if you're a member, see what you can do for cybersecurity on there. And then we have a grant program through FEMA, which is called the State and Local Cybersecurity Grant Program. This is the 3rd year of it. I don't think the League of Cities and KIPDA programs are match grants. I think it's just like a full reimbursement. Or maybe they just give you the money up front. I'm not sure how it works, but ours is a reimbursement grant and a match grant. It's going up 10% every year. This is 3rd year, so it's a 30% match this year. You may be able to get it waived depending on a couple of different factors. If you can articulate financial hardship, if you rank at a certain level on the CDC vulnerability index, or if you're just really good at writing grants. I don't know, maybe you can figure out how to get it waived. But either way, you're getting 70% off of whatever you buy if it's not 30% match. So that's pretty good. It'll cover just about anything that you want that's cybersecurity related, right? So I've been trying to explain this in ways that are condensed to make sense. So I think the best way to understand this is like, You want 427 computers. Okay, that's nice. 427 computers. If you don't have any computers, if you have, or you're sitting right now, 0 computers, computer free, you're as cybersecure as you can be. No computers, safest you could ever be from a cyber attack, right? So buying those computers don't really help your cybersecurity. However, if you already have 427 computers and they can't be updated to Windows 11, okay, that's a cybersecurity risk. Because Windows 11 is going to be where all the new patches and updates are. Eventually, Windows 10 is going to phase out and it's not going to be patched and updated. Now it's a cybersecurity risk. So same thing with anything connected to the internet, any Internet of Things technology. If you have no security cameras, you can't get security cameras under a cybersecurity grant. Because if you don't have the equipment yet, you don't have the vulnerability yet. But if you already have security cameras, you may be able to replace them under the cyber grant if you can articulate a cybersecurity risk, if they're old, if they're from an adversarial country, if they have hard-coded passwords that you can't change, things like that, you might be able to change those out. So that's kind of the best way to think about it. If you already have equipment and you need it replaced, most likely you can. If you're trying to buy new stuff, you might not be able to unless, and this is a big caveat for new stuff, it needs to be security tools. It needs to be intrusion protection systems, intrusion prevention systems, like an EDR, which is probably going to be software, anything like that. So if it's a new system, it needs to be cybersecurity centric. If it's an old system, it can be any kind of device, as long as it's old and you can articulate the cybersecurity threat to your network. So hopefully that makes sense. Anybody have any questions about that part? Or any examples of particular instances that they're curious about?
When's that application due?
We never know when it comes out because FEMA releases it. The NOFA has come out in summer 2 years in a row. That's all they're whispering right now is summer again. So probably September-ish, August, September. I think last year we were able to have the window open for 45 days. So that's a pretty decent amount of time. I think the first year they totally, I don't want to use the wrong word. The first year they did some stuff that resulted in a 20 or so day window, which is horrible. I mean, it's almost impossible to get that stuff in. But it's a single quote grant. You don't have to go out for bid for it. It can be a single quotation. However, if you go over $40,000 and get awarded, then it goes out to bid. If you have a MSP or IT firm, third party, they can't write that grant for you. You can't write a grant to fund yourself. We had a couple of people that did that. So basically what happened is this MSP is like, oh, a grant is out. This is awesome. So they wrote a grant for like 4 or 5 cities, which was awarded. So what that means is they have to hire somebody else, not the MSP that wrote the grant. So they put in all the effort to write it, and now it's going to get awarded to somebody else just because that's how it works. So yeah, summer, hopefully a 45-day window. I think it's one of the simplest grant processes that's out there. At least that's what people tell me. I don't apply for grants. I just kind of help set this one up. Any other questions about that? The stuff that it supports? No? Okay. To qualify for it, you have to be locally owned infrastructure or city or county. So utilities do qualify, water is part of the qualify. And then upcoming, I do have something like 10 or so workshops. I think you have a piece of paper in your binders there that has the outline of the workshops for the grant. I'll send out an email to get pushed out to you guys with all the other upcoming opportunities and all the stuff that you guys can sign up for, awareness type stuff like FBI IC3. Is anybody aware of the Internet Crimes Complaint Center? No? Okay. So that's another pretty important thing to know about, specifically for financial crimes. So let's say somebody does breach your network, let's say, or somebody just gets you with like a business email compromise. So you pay $5 million to a vendor, and then a few weeks pass, that vendor reaches out and says, what's going on? Why haven't you paid us? And you're like, oh, I did pay you. Like, and then you start investigating, and it turns out somebody accidentally changed the account number to us hackers' account number, and you paid the wrong person. Well, if you catch that stuff within 72 hours, you can report it to the FBI Internet Crimes Complaint Center, and they have relationships with overseas banks, and there's a really good chance they can pull that money back within 72 hours. So you don't want to sit on that information. You want to push it out. It's an online form. You fill it out. And if you select the boxes for financial crimes, it automatically trigger what they call the financial crimes kill chain. It gets to the FBI office here in Louisville real quick, they'll reach out to you and they'll try to get that stuff fixed. They're not gonna talk to you on the phone if that happens, they're gonna physically come to where you are. Like most of the time, if you're hit with a cyber attack, your phone systems are out because that's an IP system as well. So they'll physically come to you and they'll try to figure out how to solve those problems, how to get that money back. So that's a pretty cool system like that. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, which I'll also send a link out for this, is the CISA. If they're under DHS, it's like a cyber organization under DHS. They have external vulnerability scanning and reporting capability. So you send them websites or anything that's external to your network, outside your firewall, and they'll scan that stuff and make sure it's secure. And they send you a report every week. It doesn't cost anything. And if anything starts to go wrong with it, they'll let you know so you can fix it hopefully before the bad guys get it. So there's two primary ways that the bad guys can get in. Is one, you have something outside your network like that that's vulnerable. They get into that and they use that to get into your network past the firewall. Or they'll hit you with just like a fraud scam or somebody changing account number, or they'll hit you with a phishing email where you click on a link or you download an attachment or something like that. If somebody sends me a coupon for 40% off cat food, there's no way I'm not gonna click for that, right? So you click that, you download that, now you've got the bad stuff on your computer. So that's really the two primary ways. They're either going to send you an email that if you can't filter it out, that's why that email filtering I talked about was so important earlier. Or they're going to find something external to your network that's vulnerable, has default passwords, and they're going to sneak in that way and then do mayhem. That's about my 10 minutes. Is anything, I have any questions about anything? So, did anybody apply for a grant last year and they want to brag about it?
When are we gonna get guidance on what we can use the money for?
When did you get your reward letter?
Probably 2 months ago.
2 months ago? I think he's setting up those meetings right now.
Okay.
So it should be hopefully within the next 2 weeks, you should get a call. I'm gonna do your contract, meeting, whatever it's. Anyway.
Thank you all, by the way.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Philip, we appreciate you being here today and also appreciate you being here yesterday. He led a training session for water utilities across the region, so appreciate your all support. As everybody should know, our Community Economic Development Division can help with any of these grant applications. So if you are interested, please reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the Transportation Policy Committee. Andy?
Very much. Good afternoon. Good, very good speakers today. I learned stuff too. Hope you all good. TPC met at 12:30 in this room, just before this meeting met, and so I will go over a few highlights of our meeting. We had several guests in our meeting today. One of those was Lieutenant Butch Isbell from the Louisville Metro Police Department. We reached out to LMPD probably about a month ago, asking them, hey, would you like to come and talk to our TPC about how you coordinate all these big events? You know, the Derby Festival, the mini marathon, the Thunder, the Derby, and even the PGA Championship. There was no mention of Scotty Scheffler in this meeting. That was strictly off limits. What? He wouldn't mention it. It wouldn't off limits. So he gave us kind of the rundown on who they talk to within Louisville Metro government, what agencies do they meet with, and how early and often they coordinate such things, and so that's great information on that. We updated our project management guidebook. That's kind of the rules of the game for the metropolitan area's federal funds that are controlled by the TPC. And so that's been an ongoing effort over the springtime, and so we finalized that today. Those rules and that guidebook will be fundamental for this upcoming call for projects for the MPO funds that we have. We'll be making those available this fall. More details on the call for projects will be coming in June. We did Amendment 6 of our long-range plan and our transportation improvement program, our short-range plan that is. So that was passed by the TPC earlier today. It was a relatively small amendment, not an important amendment, but a relatively small amendment. One of the highlights, I think, was the Monon South Trail. For those that don't know, for our Indiana friends, they probably do know. That's a trail that's going to connect ultimately to New Albany, but this project that was added to the tip will go to the Clark Floyd County line north of New Albany, through Orange and Washington and Lawrence counties, Indiana, toward and near, Bloomington even, so it's like a 50-mile trail. It's a rails to trail project, so those are always fun ones, and those always make a good roadbed and good infrastructure for a trail. Problem in Kentucky, I've always thought, is we don't have enough abandoned rails to put rail trails on, and so it's not an opportunity that's everywhere, of course it's not. But that is a big opportunity, and ultimately will empty, or however you want to say it, the southern terminus of it will be in New Albany. It's gonna be fantastic. Other projects included some I-65 maintenance projects. Washington Trail project was KYTC. We kind of moved funding around, and it was part of that as well. We had Russ Greenleaf from TARC, and then I think it's worthwhile to mention this, his talk that he gave us. Russ coordinates what's known as the FTA Section 5310 grant program for TARC. TARC is the recipient of those funds, and they distribute the funds regionally to the urbanized area, importantly to the KIPDA urbanized area, or the Louisville urbanized area, which coincides with KIPDA MPO area. 5310 funds are grant funds that are available for nonprofits that want to buy a van or purchase a van or operate a van, with those funds to transport seniors and disabled individuals. So limited to those individuals. And so the application process is open right now, and that's why we invited him. The deadline is June 27th. If you're interested, please reach out to KIPDA staff, or he even gave us the email address, grant@ridetarc.org was the email address that he gave to the TPC. There is an informational meeting, as we understand it, on May 30th. And again, so that's for the nonprofit agencies in your community potentially to get some transit funds. It was about $1.2 million in federal dollars that are available at an 80-20 split. So the 1.2 federal, whatever that means, 1.5 probably overall in the math. And that's about it. That concludes the TPC report. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, no questions. I'll entertain a motion to accept the report. Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
You're still up, Transportation Division contracts.
Yes, sir. This is agenda item number 8. It can be found on pages 42 and 43 in your packet. This agenda item is to cover, let's call it 3 of our annual contracts that you hear me get up about this time of year, contract season, if you will, to discuss with you all. Not much has changed on any of these 3, so I'll go over each and every one of them just briefly. The first one listed is our annual contract with NDOT. So NDOT chooses to fund the federal funds, to be specific, that we get from Federal Highways Administration, Federal Transit Administration to do urban transportation funding. They choose to fund us in one and only one contract, but it's actually kind of 4 contracts. If it was in Kentucky, it would be 4 contracts. That is the PL money that you hear me talk about from time to time. That's from the Federal Highway Administration. That's to do metropolitan planning. Also included, that's 1. 2 is Section 5303. That's the federal transit money to do metropolitan planning. So there's 2. The CMAQ money, congestion mitigation air quality money, for a long time. KIPDA has received, or KIPDA has passed through money from NDOT to the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control District for the Kentucky Air Education Program. So a lot of their marketing and outreach that the APCD does actually comes from NDOT or via NDOT. So that's 3. The 4th is the STBG, Surface Transportation Block Grant Funds. That's some of the funds that are under TPC control, but they put that in the same contract. That in this case, these are the funds, $127,000 annually that go toward our regional rideshare program. So that's that first contract. That's NDOT contract. Again, it's the kind of 4 tied up in one. Virtually nothing has changed on those dollar amounts this year. Second one is KIPDA Ag Transportation Planning Contract. Again, nothing changing, nothing has changed there. And that's the one that KIPDA, just like the other area development districts across the state, has a contract with Kentucky Transportation Cabinet to provide transportation planning services in the at least primarily in the rural counties. So Mick Lawson, who coordinates the RTC program, this funds Mick and the programs that he does. And so those are not federal dollars. That's important to note. Those are state funds that require a 10% match by KIPDA, paid for with the local dues that are paid to KIPDA. The third and there's no change on that this year compared to this coming year compared to the current year we're in. Third one is our fiscal year 2025 KYTC rideshare contract. As I mentioned earlier, NDOT puts 4 contracts into one, you could argue. Kentucky doesn't. So this is an example of a unique contract that we have annually with KYTC that goes to fund that regional rideshare program that we brand as Every Community Counts program. So there is a change on this one, and this is a change that was approved recently at the KIPDA table. That is, we basically programmed a pay cut in that regard because you see on your sheet, the local match for that program is not paid for by the local dues that you all pay to KIPDA, but rather it's paid for by the fares that the riders, our customers pay to utilize that program. And so, you know, call it post-COVID, call it whatever you want. If we don't have the match, then we can't leverage those federal dollars. And so what's been programmed is slightly less than what we were getting or programming in prior years. So what that does, by the way, too, it was about a $200,000 cut, as I recall, in federal dollars. That's $200,000 more dollars that are available to the KIPDA member agencies to do transportation projects under that STBG, Surface Transportation Block Grant Program in Kentucky. That concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions about any or all of those and seeking action for ratification of those contracts.
How many of those vans does KIPDA still own that we still have on the road out there?
So
We still do
the
that?
smart ass answer is technically KIPDA owns 0 vans. TARP holds titles to the vans. So that program is a partnership with KIPDA and TARP. But yes, but it's owned up. The vans are out there. We still administer the program. We administer the program. We administer the maintenance, getting the vans to the right place to get maintenance or get repaired. TARP actually does the maintenance. They're mechanics. There's a lot to those of you that have been down to TARP. They're at 10th and Broadway on the south side. Across from there is where you'll see many of our vans. They call it the car hoist. They can service smaller vehicles like our vans there. And so we have about the mid-30s of active van pools. We have about, with the program, if you will, owns around in the low 50s. Probably in the next month or two, we probably will bring to the board a proposal that would retire 3 to 5 vans to get those off the books. The issue primarily these days is the cost of the insurance, right? To the extent those vans are backup vans and are kind of surplus to us at the moment. That insuring those vans is very, very expensive. There is some, for those that don't know, there is some, TARP has a route restructuring program going on right now. Their consultants are in town this week. I will excuse myself at 3:30 to go attend the meeting at 4 o'clock this afternoon. There could be a lot of cuts to TARP, to say the least. And our staff, Elizabeth Bowling-Schiller, she's gonna be joining me this afternoon. We're gonna be looking to see if there's a role for our van pool program to fill the void that might be created by the route cuts, because their budget is about to be cut and be cut tremendously, and so something has to give. And so stay tuned to literally the news on that one, but also any information from KIPDA or from TARP in the next couple months.
Any other questions of Andy? We need a motion for the contracts.
I'll make a motion to approve all the contracts.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Next item is the Transportation Division's reapportionment activities. Zach?
Well, Zach's getting up there. I do just want to kind of touch on as a reminder with contracts as they come in, we always bring them for board approval. But oftentimes these, in between board meetings, we receive these contracts with a quick turnaround time. That's the reason I had to come to you for ratification. So please know that the reason we do ratification is just because of the quick turnaround time requested by our funders.
Okay, afternoon, everyone. I just came to basically show off the work that your staff and your local citizens and KIPDA staff all worked together over this past summer to finish up the redistricting efforts after the 2020 census. And we're so proud of the work and so much time went into it. We wanted to share it with you guys and give you guys a tool that's always accessible on our website here. And I'm gonna show you how to get there. Paul, if you would, this is just our homepage, KIPDA.org, and you're gonna go to Community Economic Development and then down to Planning. Administrative Services. Well, I need to go get an iPad. And then we're gonna go right there where it says Regional Legislative Boundary Maps. Click on that link and it's gonna take us to a landing page where you can pick which county you want. So I'll let Paul choose. He's choosing Oldham County.
Just tell me where to go.
All right, this is the app and each county looks exactly the same as this. All the same tools, same name, same format. If you look down on the bottom left of that gray bar at the bottom under the title, you've got what we call widgets. And the first one is obviously just a widget where you can search any address. It's just like Google, it'll find anything and zoom to it. The next one is click on that one if you don't mind. That's just your legend to show you what the colors mean. And it has a pop-up window, so then you'll have to close the pop-up window when you're done looking at it. The next one's probably the most important one, and this is your layer list. This has all the layers of every boundary we use or changed in your county or in the region. So if you want to click on one of the top ones there, it'll overlay. What is that one? Oh, I can't see it.
Oldham precincts 2010.
Okay, that's, if you wanted to look at the previous precincts versus the new precincts, you could overlay them there. Check off that one and click on one of the like state senate.
2022.
Yeah, so here's the Kentucky State Senate boundaries. We have congressional. We have all your new precincts and all your magisterial boundaries. You can click them on and off, compare them, or just look at one. You can zoom in and out on any map as close as you want to go. And the next thing is, if you want to go down to the next widget down there, Paul, it has the 4 squares. That is your base map selector. And with this, you can just change, you want to look at imagery in the background, topography, there's about 12 different choices there you can pick from. The next one I just think is a fun tool to put in there, and that's the measuring tool. You can measure all sorts of different scales. If you want to do acreage, if you want to do a measure of distance, I just think it's a neat tool to put in there. And finally, there's a map, there's a print to PDF. And so you just pull it up and you hit print and it's going to print whatever you have up there on the screen. And you can even change the map title up there. It says Oldham County. If you wanted to change it and have it just say, if you wanted to zoom in and say on one precinct and just say Oldham County precinct A1A or whatever, you could do that and the title will change once you hit PDF. So it's just a tool we created for you guys. It'll be up on our website if you ever need it. Again, I want to thank you all and your staff and the members of our esteemed members that were on the committees and whatnot. It was a process, but we got through it and these will resolve. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, guys. Next item, is contact with Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. Jared?
You look on page 44 in your board packet, we have this contract. It is our annual contract with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority to provide our water, wastewater support services. This is what Justin Carter and now Ryan Boyd on the GIS side work with your all's water and wastewater utilities. The contract amount is for $109,740 for the upcoming fiscal year. Ratification is requested by the board.
Like motion. Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jared. Next item. The ADF call for projects. Dustin.
That's me, and I'll just hang out right here. This will be really quick. So this is for my counties. This is just a reminder to submit your area development fund applications to Felicia whenever you can. We're hoping to ratify those in the next board meeting. So if you have questions, follow up with either her or me. We can talk after via specific questions. That's all I got.
Any questions? Okay, we'll move along. The building resilience infrastructure and communities, Brian.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, the Community Energy Resilience Project. So on June 17th at 10 a.m., we will hold our second and final stakeholder meeting for the Community Energy Resilience Project. At this meeting, I'll be discussing the results of our survey study on the backup energy capacity of critical facilities in our KIPDA region, as well as a suite of additional critical facilities that were identified that were not part of our last hazard mitigation plan. Preliminary analysis of these results will be presented, as well as some ways going forward that our communities can potentially become more energy resilient. So an invitation to this meeting went out to the original group of stakeholders, as well as to our council members on the Regional Planning Council. If anybody in this room did not receive an invitation to that meeting, but would like to be a part of it, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll want to give you the details. Thank you. I don't believe action is requested, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have on this project.
No one have any questions, comments?
What's it pertaining to? I'm sorry. Oh, so it's a study that I've been working on since last September to try and assess the backup energy capacity of critical facilities in our region. So facilities relating to emergency management, critical government facilities, medical, senior and assisted living, water, wastewater infrastructure, a whole bunch of stuff. Just trying to figure out basically which of those facilities have access to backup energy in the event of a power outage. And a generation system. Yep, yeah, generators. Yeah, primarily generators. Yeah. So what are you considering critical facilities in this area? So pretty much anything that was a part of our hazard mitigation plan. So kind of all the things that I just listed, plus a few other things, public housing, law enforcement, fire, kind of anything related to emergency management, emergency management facilities themselves, things that our emergency managers use with facilities. And then we also added grocery stores and gas stations. We tried to capture those as well. And then other critical utilities, so water and wastewater infrastructure mostly. Some other things.
When's the next meeting, Ryan?
It is June 17th at 10 a.m. here at the school event as well as virtually. So
10 a.m.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yep.
All right, item 14, social service events. The Selena. Hope I got close to that.
You got it, yeah. Good afternoon. May is Older Americans Month, and it's a special time to honor and recognize older adults and their contributions. And during the month of May, we have an opportunity to highlight aging trends and also encourage older adults to remain active in their communities. And every year, the Administration for Community Living, ACL, leads the observance of Older Americans Month and selects a theme. And this year it is Powered by Connection, which highlights the impact social connections have on older adults' health and well-being. And research has shown that there are many benefits of connecting with others. Remaining socially engaged improves quality of life. It's associated with improve physical, emotional, and mental health. And because of these research findings, the Aging Network has made the issue of social engagement one of the top priorities. And during the Older Americans Month, we also have an opportunity to recognize all the resources that are available to older adults, such as the local senior centers that offer a wide range of programs to ensure that services, that older adults receive services and supports, including transportation, meals, fitness classes, educational, recreational, and health promotional activities, to name a few. KIPDA currently supports 8 senior centers. There are 2 in Jefferson County and 1 in each of the 6 rural counties. And in line with the theme powered by connection, the centers are committed to increasing on-site attendance, to reduce social isolation and promote social interaction, as well as providing in-home services and exploring opportunities for older adults to access programming remotely and feel connected to their peers. And every year during the month of May, the senior centers plan special events for their participants. This year in Jefferson County, JCC, Jewish Community Center, and Highlands Community Ministries took seniors to concerts. They had a few field trips and scheduled presentations on topics of interest to seniors. In the multi-purpose area, seniors participated in a group activity Together We Grow, which involved planting plants. Shelby Spencer and Bullitt County seniors had a senior citizen field day, and they all went to Bernheim Forest. Bullitt County seniors also went to the Southeast Bullitt Fire Department for a field day, where they participated in a lot of fun activities. In the Tri-County area, the senior centers are having a selfie challenge, and they're going to highlight 2 or 3 seniors from each site that share what aging means to them. And so there are a lot of activities that are taking place in our region during the month of May to recognize older adults. And during the month of May, we also have an opportunity to bring attention to issues that impact older adults, one of them being elder abuse. And we heard earlier a presentation on elder abuse and financial exploitation. Elder abuse is a very complex issue. And next month, June, is Elder Abuse Awareness Month, and more specifically, June 15th is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, which is an annual initiative that was launched in 2006 to promote a better understanding of elder abuse. And the KIPDA Rural Council on Elder Abuse is going to host an event. It's an elder abuse awareness event that will take place on June 12th in Shelbyville at the Stratton Center. We have several presenters, including the Shelby County APS team. They're going to talk about reporting. Kentucky is a mandatory reporting state. And they have some specific acceptance criteria when reports are made. So they will cover that topic. We are expecting about 80, could be more, seniors in attendance. And we will be happy to share pictures from the event in our next newsletter. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
What was the date of that again?
June 12th. It's on a Wednesday, yes, at the Stratton Center. 10 to 2.
Thank you. Next item, social service business. Christian.
Thank you. Okay, so the first one is agenda item number 15 on page 45. This is some FY 2024 social service issues. We are excited that we were able to wrap up some of our ARPA procurement. And wanted to get board approval for the advisory council's recommendation and our evaluation of the procurement. So the first one would be to Mid-South Bus Center. This would be for the procurement of 4 2023 Forest River vans. It's a Ford Transit that is a 5-passenger driver, co-pilot plus 2 wheelchair positions, totaling $331,428. And the other award would be to iClick Inc. for up to 9 OB Senior Center projectors, interactive gaming center, for up to $73,710. So, I'd like your approval to those contracts. Any questions about those?
Saying no questions, can I hear a motion to approve the contract? Second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next thing is we want to ratify the executive director's signature of a contract that was entered into with Polco for $37,675. They will provide, it's a 3-year subscription, and they're going to provide community assessment surveys for older adults. And the statistical data resulting from that, which we will then use to prepare our area plan. Area plans are due every 3 years. We have a new one coming up next year. You all just approved an amendment to an update last month, so but we will be preparing it for the new one. So we need to ratify his signature on that contract.
Okay, any questions about this part? I'll entertain a motion. Second. We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And my last FY 24 is KIPDA has been selected to receive a grant from the Weinberg Foundation for the Capable program. Capable program, brief description, allows us to go in, you can provide OT services, RN services, and then some minor home modification services. This will be in partnership with the local Habitat for Humanity. So we want to get authorization to sign the contracts with Capable and with Habitat for Humanity. And also we are going to use Title 3D funds to purchase the Capable license. This is a Title 3D eligible program. It is which is a health promotion, disease prevention. It focuses a lot on balance, like helping seniors to live more successfully in the home. So approval for signing those contracts and then utilizing those 3D funds.
Anyone have any questions? Discussion. There a motion? Second? All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, you're still up, number 16.
Agenda item number 16 on page 47, like Andy said, this is the contract season. So we have received our Dale contract for FY 25 and 26. We're asking to ratify Jared's signature on those because of time crunch on getting those done. So, but we have received our contracts for Title 3 services, Title 7 home care, state long-term care on budget, Medicaid, ADRC, SHIP, and INU suicide prevention.
Anyone have any questions?
I'm sorry, and we have not received our allocations on that yet, so they don't actually have the final fund, but we don't have our funding dollars yet for next year, just the contracts for it. All right, thank you.
Okay, seeing no questions, entertain a motion. So moved. Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is the May personnel. Megan?
Yes.
Agenda item 17, page 48. A couple of departures. Anne Marie Sacra has left as a GIS specialist, and Sheila Harbor, ADRC specialist, is retiring at the end of this month. We have a new hire in transportation, Eron Mosili as the KIPDA. He's a new transportation planning analyst. He started here a couple weeks ago. We have a few vacancies in ADRC specialists, which we hope to wrap up in the next week or so. 2 full-time connector positions and a Michelle P. waiver case manager position. As always, these job postings can be found on the website, and our staff count is 80 full-time permanent, 3 part-time permanent, and 4 part-time temporary. Action is requested.
Okay, I need a motion to accept Megan's report. Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Motion carried. Next item is the intergovernmental reviews. It's A through J. I believe it was J. And Jared says they're all okay, so.
They can all be taken together. Action is requested.
There a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussions about any of it? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Next item is the executive director's report. Jared.
Thank you. First, I want to recognize Mayor Carol Pike and Mayor Maria Johnson, both joined us after the roll call, so I want the record to reflect their attendance. Next, I want to welcome Stacy Rockaway with Congressman Massey's office. Thank you for being here today. And James Victory with Congressman Guthrie's office. Kylie Fouché was here earlier, but she had to leave a few minutes ago. But thank you all for being here. James, really appreciate your all's assistance. You worked with us pretty closely on the congressman working to get earmarks. So I want to just thank you for those efforts. I did want to give an update because it seems like it would seem like it's been a while since I gave an update on the Medicaid lawsuit. Many in this room weren't even part of the board when the board authorized us to move forward with the lawsuit. That was in November of 2022. At that time, we were directed to work with the governor's office and Medicaid to see if we could reach a settlement without having filed the lawsuit. We had a very slow drip of progress. So finally, at the end of last calendar year, we moved forward with the lawsuit. Initially, it was filed in Jefferson County Circuit Court. The department asked for a change of venue, so that got moved to Franklin, delaying it. So then we made our discovery request. There was a delay in the discovery request, but they have asked for an extension to come through the over 10,000 emails that were included within that discovery. So we're waiting to receive that discovery request back. In the meantime, our attorney is working with the cabinet's attorneys still to see if we can get a settlement rather than having to litigate. So as a reminder, this is we were not paid for effort or our activities in fiscal year 17 and 18 when it was a transition from home and community-based waiver 1 to home and community-based waiver 2. So it's trying to get reimbursed for the activities that we provided at the serving the cabinet's clients. So hopefully we'll have some progress. I think one of the concerns within Medicaid was if the federal Medicaid came to look an audit, if they had paid us out, how that would impact Medicaid. But the federal look back is 5 years. Our claims are beyond those 5 years. So we're hoping that we can reach a settlement. So again, that is out there and hopefully we get a settlement soon. But I don't have much more to report, but are there any questions on where we stand with that lawsuit? Not hearing any, I will move on to our 2 items of travel for consideration by the board. The first is June 12th to 13th, the Kentucky County Judge Executive Association and Kentucky Magistrates and Commissioners Association is holding their joint annual conference in Lexington at the Marriott. That Wednesday, the area development districts are going to be presenting at the conference in the round table sessions. And then at 5 o'clock that afternoon, the Kentucky Council of Area Development Districts, which is represented by KIPDA by Judge Eisen and Judge Summers, will be meeting. And then the following morning, the Area Development District directors will be meeting at the Bluegrass Area Development District in Lexington. So the travel request is for a one-night stay for me to attend the KCJEA conference, the KCADD meeting that evening, and then the ad directors meeting on Thursday. The second item is the Meals on Wheels Conference and Exposition that would be attended by our staff member Ricky Hurst. The Meals on Wheels Conference is an annual convening of senior nutrition program leaders from across the country for learning, quality network, and keynotes designed to connect and align the nutrition provider network. This year's conference is focused on harnessing and growing the capacity of the network to serve more seniors. This will be Ricky's first time attending the conference. So again, these two items for your all's consideration, action as requested if you deem appropriate.
So for your expenses and
Any other questions?
wherever you're going.
We have a motion and a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Any opposed?
And then finally, just the last item is next month's meeting. The Transportation Technical Coordinating Committee will be meeting June 12th at noon here in the Burke Room and by Zoom. And then on June 27th, the Transportation Policy Committee will be meeting in this room at 12:30, immediately followed by the June KIPDA Board of Directors meeting at 2. And at that June board meeting, after the conversation last month, I have asked for Sam Flynn, who is Executive Director of the Kentucky Medical Cannabis Program, to be in attendance to speak. So he will be here for the June meeting. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Jared. Is there any other business to come before the board?
Mr. Chairman, no business, but for me, but I do want to say thank you to KIPDA. Both Ryan and Dustin and some other folks from KIPDA were in Shelbyville yesterday to help us with a brownfield grant application. And there's a lot of hoops in that. And KIPDA's people were there to hold our hand through it and let us know that you all are helping us with that. So you all do a phenomenal job. And I say that every time, but thank you. And guys, thank you for being there. And we got them out of the.
Appreciate you staying up, John.
John?
After they left Shelby County, they came to see the Sidwood Range last night. Alicia, I can't remember the two gentlemen's name here, one here and the second one. They came to see us and put together a $10 million grant, and they told me this morning they got it approved that quick.
I would like to echo what the distinguished gentleman from Shelby County said as well. They were at our site with a Superfund site May the 10th. Thank you, guys.
You guys been busy.
Yes, they have.
Hey, any other business?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Scott Travis. I want to thank the KIPDA folks. We had a meeting in Frankfurt at the old Capitol on development in our community. And then they have also been in attendance in Taylorsville with us on several occasions. So hats off to them. I want to ditto what my colleagues have said about them coming to our counties and helping us out. So thank you.
Wonderful to hear. Thank you all for those kind words.
Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second, all in favor?